The show will start shortly, so while you wait, let's get to know your hosts. Kim and Carlos are a married couple, grew up in the same small town, and met because of sports. Here's a blast from the past of what we were like back then. Fun facts about Carlos: he was our high school basketball star, and he ran a leg of the Olympic torch run for the 1984 Olympics. I was a freshman when Carlos was a senior. He wrote these messages to me in our yearbook back in 1985. We decided to start our podcast in 2023. Our first season used this cover art. The first season was our memoir about getting your child through cancer. The name of our show has deep meaning for us because doctors would always blow us off with these two words, typical and unique. We made this montage part of our intro for a while.
Hit with so many typicallys and uniques.
Oh, yes, that is very typical. We see it all the time.
Don't worry about it. That's typical, you know.
Oh, every child is unique, so we can't say what is typical.
That's typical. See you later. You know.
Well, that's unique. We don't really see that very much.
Yeah, typical or unique.
Since then, we took a break from podcasting and came back with season 2 as a discussion podcast, mostly discussing true crime. We can talk about almost anything on here, though. And we thank you for joining us. Now, if you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome to Typically Unique. I'm Kim Aponte, and I'm here with my husband, Carlos.
Hello.
We are not only talking about Big Brother tonight, but we're going to talk about a couple other things after that discussion. So we've been watching the Olympics. They're wrapping up this weekend, right?
That's correct.
So there have been some highlights that you've talked to me about. So we thought that would be interesting to share. We are a discussion podcast, so we are going to discuss different topics on our show. So we like to do true crime, but we don't always do true crime. And then we had also taken a trip to Chicago.
Yes.
And I have always wanted to have a segment where it's called Typically Unique Travels, because I feel like we're pretty good at it and can share some, I don't know, ideas, places we've been. We kind of pack it in when we go. And so I want to share a little bit about our Chicago trip.
Yeah, we got some tips and tricks because we've done it a lot, that's for sure. And I mean, we're not world travelers, but we've
experts.
Yeah, we've conquered the continental United States, I think. So, yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
All right. Start with Big Brother.
Big Brother. Right. And it's all the Tucker, Cedric drama that's been going on. And we did not talk about when we're going to talk about Wednesday night's episode first. So that was when they did a whole big montage about Kenny.
Oh. My goodness.
What did you think about that?
I hate that. And I mentioned this on our last episode when he started doing some of this waffling. You know, there are people who really want to be on this show and really want to, you know, have the full experience and stick it out and play the game and, you know, be part of the, you know, the contest of it and the social experiment of it as well. Mm-hmm. And it's just a little frustrating when, you know, a player or two gets in there and does that. It is like, I don't know, it frustrates me to no end. However, CBS did a really good thing, which I thought was kind of funny during his montage, because sometimes he was like, you know, I want to be in the game. I want to compete. And then sometimes he's like, I miss my family, you know.
Yep.
And so they would do a thumbs up.
They were doing thumbs up and thumbs down every time he did it.
What did you think about that?
Well, then we found out later after the next episode that how long he had tried for many years to get on the show. So it just seems like a waste. Like, I understand what he's saying. Like, he kept saying his kids were 6 and 8. That's pretty important years, because they're aware of what's going on and dad's not around. So I get it, but I mean, you know what you're getting into. Stick it out, for a couple months. But
Exactly.
it is a shame to see him go through that.
Yep, for sure.
So, all right. Then, so everybody's been freaking out this whole time about these powers, right? The secret powers. So MJ told everybody right away, pretty much a lot of people knew about her veto, America's veto, but then Quinn gets outed.
Yeah, going back to MJ, I think she went to the head of households and told them and say, hey, make it our secret, and if people leaked it,
that
they
never
leaked
works.
it. But she was doing it very strategically, like, hey, if you put me up, I'm coming down. You can't play head of household the next week. You certainly don't want to make an enemy by having me, come after you by you putting me up. So she was using the tool strategically. Quinn outed himself for no good strategic reason, like on day 1 or 2, because Angela was the head of household. He felt like he had to,
Did he tell Cedric? He went to the head of household and told Cedric, and then because Cedric went to Chemo, or was it Chemo that went to Cedric? Who did he confide in? He confided in one, I think it was Chemo. And then Chemo shared it with somebody, because then Chemo gets outed.
Yeah. I mean, you're jumping way forward.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but
well, no, that is what happened, because I said that Cedric and Chemo had a conversation at this point.
Yeah.
When going back to Kenny, when Kenny was flip-flopping, he at one point said, "I'll use my veto on Angela."
Yeah.
And then she cries over everything every time that happens.
Right. But I think Quinn's power being outed, was his own doing by telling people. And yes, he tried to confide. His alliance was like, why didn't you tell me? But, you tell one person alliance and then it goes to somebody who's outside of the alliance. So, me personally, I would have kept it completely a secret from everybody. And then when I'm about to use it, I could let people in on the fact that, hey, I'm doing this for us if they're part of my alliance, but I'm not just going to let it hang out there from the get-go. It just seems kind of crazy to me. But but yeah, he got outed, and yeah, it started to pave a rocky road for him from that moment.
Because then they go to the veto competition, and who was on the block? It was Kenny,
Angela,
and Tucker.
Yep.
And they go to the veto competition, and that one, I forget which one that was, the challenge, because that wasn't the balls yet.
No, that was the where they had to carry that.
Oh, the vines. Yes, because MJ was in that too. Oh yeah, so there were a lot of competitors during that one. So yeah, they had to carry this contraption through this maze and not zap. And we sat there for 20 minutes watching every contestant. So how many go? 6?
6, yeah.
Go through this thing, and we're like, do we have to watch every single second of every person? Come on, CBS.
So,
because I want to watch the interactions between the competitors.
So we talked our last episode on here, and we said, we prophesized that in the past, also looking backwards and prophesized, in the past, they spend way too much time showing us these competitions and less time showing us the character of the people on the show. And we want to see the character of the people on the show.
Yes.
And so when the veto, they're about to do the veto meeting, I look over at Kim, I'm like, this is probably going to be 1/3 of the show.
Yeah.
And it literally was about 1/3 of the show that was aired, probably 40, 50 minutes, 45 minutes of the show that's actually aired, not counting commercials. We watched this for 15 or 20 minutes. Yep. And I was like, we could have had conversations. I could have learned about other people. We could have learned so much, and we just watched that.
There's been so many alliances formed, and I'm watching it on TV, and I'm like, I didn't see that alliance get formed. I don't know who that is. Apparently, there's some romances forming. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. So let me ask our viewers, What are your thoughts about how they are doing the TV programming?
Right.
Are you happy with it? Do you feel like you're getting to know the competitors? So let us know in the comments about
Great
that.
question.
Your thoughts.
Great
about
question,
that.
Kimberly. Great question.
We like to interact.
So who won the veto competition?
So of course, the comp beast, Tucker.
Yep.
Tucker wins, and then that's when he's like, game on. I'm calling out these powers. Like, and I liked it. I'm here for that gameplay. Yeah. It's like old school Big Brother to me. I really enjoy it.
So we are typically unique. I land more on the typical side. Kim likes the unique side of things. You know, that's the way we, I don't know, interact.
A little bit of controversy.
Yeah, she likes all that, you know.
Do things a little bit differently.
But my concern was, as soon as Tucker won, he's like, okay, now I'm going to be the head of household. It's not his head of household. He won the veto. It's Cedric's head of household. Yeah. And I saw a lot of this coming, you know, with between him and Cedric, because the minute he won that, he's like, okay, you do this and you do that. And he starts dictating. And I'm like, whoa. This ain't your head of household.
Yeah.
You didn't win the head of household. You won a veto. You won the secondary competition. The main competition was won by somebody else, and they're in charge this week. You know, so
we're gonna have our typically unique debate a little bit about that, because I understand what you're saying. However, I think Tucker has earned a little bit of that, because how many times has he been he's been a pawn a couple times already, right? So he's volunteered to put himself at risk, you know. So I think so I get that a little bit. And the head of household doesn't have to do what he says, but he's being very adamant, voicing his opinion, which I like, because there's been a couple people, I think Joseph was the other one, that they're like, hey, let's really play the game and not just take the safe route all the time. And so he's wanting to try to do some risky things, like they call it the big moves that they always say. So at the end of the day, Cedric's the head of household. He's going to do, and he does do what he wants. But at this point, the main controversy or topic was about Quinn's power. Yeah. So that's when Tucker just starts. Tucker finds out for sure, like he was suspecting, but once it gets confirmed for him, he just makes sure everybody knows.
Yeah. And I think prior to that, he was on the, you know, you should put up MJ instead of me, because he wanted to flush out her power. He's
been on the path of let's flush out these powers, right? And so now that he knows who the second one is, he's really on a rampage about that. Cedric finds out that Quinn has the power, and he's in an alliance with Quinn. Right. So he's like, why didn't he tell me? So he goes and has a moment, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how uncomfortable when Quinn watches that back, because Cedric sits him down, and there were a couple other people there, and he's just talking about the powers, and he's like, I'm going to give him an opportunity to come clean, and he doesn't.
And I saw that a little differently. If Cedric wanted to flush that information out for himself, he should have took Quinn aside one-on-one in the head of household room, not in front of everybody else, and say, hey, look, you know, there's this power out there, kind of thinking you might have it. You know, I'm kind of working this head of household. I want to make sure that if you do have it, it's not impeding on what I'm trying to do this week, you know, and give him an opportunity to come clean directly to him. You know, instead, it's like, you know, me and you having a marital issue or something, and, you know, being at a party and being like, you know, hey, let's talk about this during what, you know, I'm not going to say anything of substance in that conversation, and I'm going to deny.
True.
So
it wasn't the best place to do it.
No,
I like that he kind of took that approach, but he should have done it.
Well, you wanted the blow up, right? You like the controversy and the activity.
I like Quinn, so I wanted Quinn to, like, if he would have come clean, maybe things would have been different for him. But
fair enough.
So because he didn't, Tucker thinks he makes a deal with Cedric to, if Tucker's plan is, I'm going to win the veto, or no, the arena. I'm going to win the AI arena, and I'm going to take Angela off.
No.
And then you're going to put up.
I'm going to win the veto. The arena, nobody takes nobody off. Just whoever wins comes off the block, and then 2 people are left for votes. The veto, you get to take somebody off, but that's where we're going.
That's where this
that's
happened.
Where we're going right next.
That arena is just
I know
messing me up.
weird. It's weird, but that's where we're going next. So there was some conversation.
Because this is still Wednesday night. We're talking about
the
Wednesday's
next thing
veto.
to happen is Tucker needs to use the veto.
Yes.
And Cedric is telling him, hey, use it on yourself.
He did.
Because I want Angela out, and he's like, no, I want to use it on Angela, and you need to put up Quinn. And he's like, oh, no, I don't have votes for that. No, we're not doing that. So what happens come the veto meeting? Yeah,
Tucker takes Angela off, and her reaction. Oh my gosh, that's a clip I want to play.
Please, let's see. We got a clip. It's going
to take me a second, and I just went on.
I'll talk over you while you do all the clicking. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. So, so they're at the veto meeting. Apparently, nobody's aware of what Tucker's plan is, except for Kenny and Cedric. They, I think, are on the same, they know what's about to happen, but nobody else really knows what's about to happen. So during the veto meeting, he gets up and he says, hey, I'm going to take Angela off the block. And oh my gosh, she, yes, starts crying. Hopefully you have a video of the crying. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, she starts crying.
I think it's coming up.
All
Let
right.
me see. There we are.
All right. Well, let's hit play and see what we got.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Wrong one.
It's AI Arena.
Yeah, I got it. It's right here.
All right.
I've decided to use the power of veto. You go into it.
Look at her face.
Look at everybody's face.
Yeah, everybody. It was a big shocking moment.
Mackenzie, I'm sorry to take your place of block. I'll remember, bro. Hope you're up here next time.
Oh, he's mad.
It's not a smart move. You just blindsided me, so good luck whenever I'm battling you out there, bro. Stupid ass move. I hope I get up here on this couch with you, because I'm going to win that AI arena and come for you. I can easily win that AI arena. This veto meeting is adjourned.
Actually, it's not. I'm using a
Big twist
to save myself from the block.
All right.
So yeah, that was interesting, fun, cute, and it got a little tense there for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Tucker, if looks could kill, oh my gosh. Like, he just was expecting the plan to go through. And afterwards, Cedric was like, hey man, I told you save yourself.
Yep.
But Tucker didn't believe that. But Angela's reaction, oh my, she always thinks people are saving her because of her. like we love you so much, we want to keep you in the house. But that's, I think that happens a lot sometimes too, when you're such an easy target. They just keep you because they know, like, oh, if I'm head of household, I can just easily put her up and everybody will vote her out. So she's kind of sliding through with that.
Yeah, it's you keep the target on somebody else instead of yourself. They call it the shield. They talk about that in Big Brother. They talk about that in Survivor. Always have somebody to be a shield for people shield coming after you. But I want to go back a little bit, because Tucker initially, we talked about the beginning of this episode. Tucker initially wanted MJ on the block to flush out her veto.
Yes.
So Cedric puts her on the block.
Yes.
Flushes out the veto.
Yes.
So really, Cedric is kind of doing a little bit of Tucker's bidding and getting more blood on his hands. Instead of him, he knows full well that Mackenzie has the.
So he did one, but not the one Tucker wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. So he wants to eliminate the amount of blood on his hands. And what he's doing is by putting up Kenny, Tucker, Angela, those three people could gun for him afterwards. Now he's putting up MJ, who pretty much threatened him, hey, don't put me up. If you do, I'm going to be coming for you. So he ends up putting her up, knowing full well she's going to immediately come back off because she has this special power. So he did this in spite of, he could have just nominated anybody else and had less blood on his hands. But
That's
now
true.
he puts this person up.
Yeah. Yeah. So he didn't completely wimp out.
No.
He did something smart. And then that was 2 big shocks in like 5 minutes time, because when MJ stood up and said, I have America's veto, everybody's like, what? So then it was between Wednesday and Thursday, they got to vote. America got to vote.
Yep.
Yes. So, and they could pick anybody in the House that wasn't already on the block or saved by a veto.
And who did you think, before we found out who it was, and we'll get into the next episode here in a minute, but just at this point, at the end of Wednesday's episode, when that happened and they showed all the people who were eligible to be voted for, who did you think would go on the block?
So I was hoping, even though I love Quinn, I wanted America to support Tucker in what he did, because I just feel like he's taking a lot of risks to really play the game that way. So I wanted America to back him up and like put Quinn on the block to flesh out, the person with the power. But then I was like, I don't know. And it was just hard to pick anybody else. I didn't even know who my second choice would have been. Maybe Joseph or Cam. And I said, just because we hadn't really seen them too much.
Well, I give you credit because you called out immediately Quinn.
Yes.
You're like, Quinn.
Yes.
I, on the other hand, said Joseph and Cam. I was like, here's 2 people that I thought would be personalities on the show, haven't really been personalities on the show. And if America's voting, do you want to keep someone in the game that is showing you some personality and making it entertaining, like a Quinn?
Yep.
If I was placing my vote, I would place it on someone like Cam and Joseph, who had the ability, or what's the short girl's name? I always forget her name. Rabina. Either one of those 3. Those are the 3 that I said America should vote for, because they've shown us nothing.
Oh, and I said T-Core because she's also one that's just kind of been hanging out in the background.
Yeah, she's been kind of not a floater, but floating.
Yeah.
But not so much of a floater. So that's Wednesday's episode, and now we get to Thursday's episode.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that Julie's "but first" was such a hashtag on the internet, but she does introduce the show and then say "but first," and then they kind of recap and get into how the House guests were reacting.
So I love you dearly. I brought this to Kim's attention, and she's like, "Oh, I never knew that. They've been doing "but first"
forever,
for years."
Yeah.
Years. And you've never known this?
I don't know. I mean, I hear her say it, but I don't know. I didn't
They flash the hashtag up there every single time she says, "but first,"
that's
hashtag, "but first."
It's also just like at the beginning of every episode, they'll show like a montage of different moments that happened, and then the very last one will be like a funny clip and then it'll be like someone saying a one-liner that's really funny, and I didn't notice that forever either until you pointed it out.
And how did I point it out? What did I say about that particular one-liner?
I don't remember.
My favorite part of the show.
Yes,
That's my favorite part.
Favorite part of the show.
Yeah, it's my favorite part of the show. It's funny. It's a little recap. I know where it's coming from. I remember the situation around it, and it's usually someone falling down or someone saying something outrageous. It's usually my favorite. So I always tell everybody to be quiet. Wait. Okay.
So on this episode, on Thursday night's episode, it was Tucker saying, "Let the games begin."
Yeah, exactly.
So I liked that. That was cool.
Yep. So they start off this episode with, a lot of turmoil came from the veto meeting. A lot of things going on. Hey, what's going to happen to me? And there was a lot of, why did this person go up? Why did she get saved? Why did you want Quinn on the block? Why did MJ go up? So Tucker and Cedric were having like a private conversation and other people were asking questions. And he's like, look, let's just get everybody together and you explain it because, you know, I'm not going to do your bidding. This is my head of household. So
you tell everybody
if
what
you're
happened.
upset about something, then you go tell everybody what you're upset about. But I'm playing my game. That's the way I took it.
Yep.
What did you think?
Yeah, Cedric, everybody was asking, what was this plan? Where did this come from? And it was Tucker's plan. So Cedric's like, you tell everybody. So he basically did.
Yeah.
And it was all about Quinn and Quinn's power. So Chemo he did the what did I, you know,
Yeah,
like,
what did I do?
Why do I gotta get thrown into
Yeah.
this? But he was one of the ones that said something.
Chemo
so.
outed Quinn to Tucker.
Yes.
He outed he outed him. So Tucker's like, look, if I'm gonna go down in flames, I'm taking somebody with me, and Chemo's coming for the ride. And he was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, so again, if you're in alliance with somebody and you're gonna be, you know, given information, and if it's part of your strategy to get to the end of the game, you have to show trust with somebody.
Yeah.
Only the people who have complete and utter trust in each other and say, no matter what, we got to make it to the end and we got to hold each other's secrets tight. Those are the people who end up winning, especially in today's Big Brother. You know, back then it was the wild, wild west. You know, I mean, people were just doing crazy stuff all the time because nobody understood the strategy of the game. Today, I mean, you have to have a lock solid alliance very early on, and you need to be hooked to it and commit to it. And these folks aren't really, there's some folks that aren't really committing to it.
So I felt that's one of the things I feel like they're not showing us.
I agree.
They're not showing us that. So that should be public.
I agree.
And I don't know.
I agree. Because this is what we just get from the show, right? We're not watching the feeds. We say this all the time. We don't care if you watch the feeds. We don't care if we get spoilers, but we're not watching the feeds. But what they're showing us on television isn't what is needed to make it further in the game.
Right. And I am going to the feeds. I even tried last night. I couldn't. It was late and I was tired, but I'm going to get that baby going because we're just not getting it on the show.
Can I pause for a second though about Big Brother strategy? Something annoyed me last night so bad.
Oh.
And I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. And I'm not trying to be misogynistic.
We normally don't pick things out like this, but it was very evident.
And it wasn't her fault, but somebody messed up. And I don't know who, but somebody needs to, I don't know, get a talking to. Julie Chen's makeup.
Carlos goes, look at her eyes.
I was like,
look at her face.
I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah.
It was so raccoonish bad around her eyes.
They did too much on the highlighting under the eyes. Like it was too much. It could have been the camera lighting. I don't know. But
they've done millions of seasons of Big Brother. I've never seen this.
They do try new things with her. And remember the haircut? She cut her hair last season, and like the internet.
That was a wig.
The internet broke. Whatever.
That was a wig.
She's got long hair again, but she usually looks fabulous. But yeah, this was very noticeable. Very
noticeable. And here's the part that bugged me. So first segment, whoa, what's going on? They have commercial breaks. She is live, but they have commercial. Somebody could have ran out there with the little duster. You know, I watch some TikToks. I see these dusters. You know, they could have dusted her up. They didn't touch her
dusters
the whole show.
Hashtag dusters.
Am I wrong about this? Like what from a woman's perspective, I
wouldn't have wanted to look like that. And you're right. Like I've heard in the past that like every hair on if someone's on TV, every hair is where it's supposed to be for a reason. Like they are supposed to be really diligent about that. And we're not doing this to be mean because
it's not Julie Chen's fault.
No, and it's actually part of Big Brother culture to talk about Julie.
Yeah.
Like critiquing and stuff.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm not critiquing her look. I'm not critiquing her look.
Just the
Julie,
makeup artist.
She always looks fabulous, you know, and I'm not, saying anything about her looks. I'm saying if she was wearing a striped polka dot dress, I'd be like, ooh, I don't know if that's the fashion statement I would have went with, or something like that, but somebody in the makeup chair just said, all right, you're good, go ahead, and didn't do the little dusting at the end. I don't know.
Whenever I'm doing my makeup for now, I'm gonna go, I'm dusting.
I don't know. Again, not Julie's fault, but they did the whole show and they never touched her up once.
Yeah. Poor Julie.
I don't know.
Probably watched it back and thought.
Well, and I guess one last point to this too. Like, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago. I was on a talk show once, right? In the audience. I wasn't on the talk show, but I was in the audience. And I saw during a live taping, so what they do. And I seen production people come out and say, hey, you turn this way and you do this, and we're going to switch seats after, and all this stuff. And I see a guy or a lady, somebody come out and they'll touch up the host or why didn't anybody run out there? All right.
You want to know that.
I do. If someone has insight on that, please.
That's what we always say. Do your job.
Do
right?
your job. And poor Julie, she doesn't even know. She's like, oh, okay.
And do your job well.
And she's the one that has to bear the brunt of this 10-minute, thing that I've been talking about. And it's not her fault.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
All right. So at this point in the show, since America's veto was used, they're just showing a montage of everybody talking to the cameras, talking to America, like, please don't vote for me, America. Or what are you thinking, America?
And why would they vote for you? Right. I was talking bad to Matt and, they don't like me for this.
I think they're going to vote for me. Yeah.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
So the third so they announce it, right? So right before the AI arena, they announce who the third nominee will be because of America's vote. And the dramatic pause for the first time actually got me. They waited about, I don't know,
it was a
10 to 15
pause.
seconds before they actually said the name, and they were kind of going around and showing different people. And I was like, who is this going to be? Like, I was actually hooked in there for 10 or 15 seconds. And who was it, Kim?
Quinn.
Yeah, she got it right. And I was
like, ooh, America. I knew what you were thinking.
They got it right.
Tucker.
Yeah.
I think they did it to back Tucker because I don't think anybody wants Quinn to go home, or we're expecting Quinn to go home with the three that are on the block. So I think America probably felt it would be a message to Tucker. We're supporting you. We like the way you're playing the game, but we still like Quinn and we don't think he'll go home. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We all see. So then they go into the AI arena.
Right.
And Tucker, he's doing the OG Big Brother stuff, I feel like. Yeah. And he's been dressing up. Mm-hmm. So he dressed up like Lisa, and at first we thought, oh, he's just targeting her. Maybe that was a mean thing. But now I'm thinking they used to always do that on the show. There'd always be a couple people that would just wear crazy outfits, or they would, do that. So I wanted to show.
Did some of those things. I'll just talk over you while you find the next video. But Mike Boogie did some of that, and this was kind of a throwback homage to the old days a little bit. But and Tucker is playing an old school game, so granted.
Yep. Starts now. Wait, this is the arena. I want the next one. Starts.
To not stutter, you do look beautiful to go on.
So this just shows.
Thank you. All right. Please cast your vote to evict.
Oh, we don't want to show that yet.
But that's the Wolverine look that he had.
I'll just show the look.
Yeah, just show the look.
So I just wanted to show what he looked like.
All right.
I said Wolverine, but he also looks like one of the players from.
Yeah, I think his name was Dan.
Yeah. And this is the competition they had to do. So they had to stand in these machines and only catch the red balls and put them in the things. I call it the money machine. It's like trying to catch the money. So just wanted to show that. We got some visuals this time.
All right.
And who won?
Oh, of course, Tucker.
The comp beast.
Yeah, Tucker won.
Tucker won. And he was sharing his strategy. I've never been in one of those machines. I've seen them because sometimes they'll do the money machine one at school for a prize when we do fundraisers and stuff. So I know it's hard to just grab things out of the air. He said he sat on the vent and tried to block the air. So that was he's really trying to be strategic in everything he's doing, I guess.
Yes. So he wins.
So, yes.
So he wins, which means Kenny, who we haven't really spoke about, and Quinn are now left on the block to be voted out. So when they introduce them to come back, one of the worst parts of the whole week comes up, right? So we're
still the same.
We're gonna talk about it again until production changes this part of the show. But when they come up, production keeps telling them, and Julie keeps telling them, this is your guys' time to go and strategize and do whatever. And they don't do that.
And they don't do it.
They don't want to do it. And they keep forcing them to want to go and strategize, and they're just kind of congratulating the winner. And some people are just kind of in the same room and they're all talking to each other until Julie says, sit down and let's vote.
It's a wasted 2 minutes
It is.
of TV.
It is.
Yeah.
Like,
I could be watching a romance form.
You're not wrong.
But they have the vote and Kenny was evicted.
By vote of?
Was it one? Who?
10-1, I believe.
Who was the one?
Tucker.
Of all people.
Because Tucker wants Quinn out.
Oh, because
Tucker thought that, hey, if I get Quinn on the block, everybody in the house is going to want Quinn out. And everybody in the house didn't want Quinn out.
No,
Quinn's
in a lot of alliances.
Yeah. And Tucker probably is like, look, I've been doing all this stuff. I've been making frenemies, because I think people like him in the house, but his gameplay is getting a little aggressive and he's using a lot of foul language, Yeah. And to me, that's aggressive.
Yeah.
If you start using that type of language, you're starting to be aggressive, and you can strategize and this and that without using that type of language, and it seems less aggressive. And hey, it's just how I want to play the game. But he's doing it very aggressive. I'm coming after you, and you effed up, and that to me is, So yeah. Kimmy's a fan. I'm not so much a fan. I'm not a fan.
I cringe a little bit at that stuff.
Okay, all right. Because I know you like to use expletive every once in a while. What do you call it? For effect? What is it? What's that?
I don't know, emphasis.
Emphasis, yes, emphasis. Yeah, she likes it for emphasis. So he's been emphasizing a lot.
Kenny kind of dug his own grave too, because he had flip-flopped so much about wanting to go home. So at this point, if he wanted to stay, there was no chance, because it was an easy vote for everybody to just vote Kenny out, because he wasn't really mad about it. So that's it. They talked about Tuesday is going to be a special. And to be honest, I guess the special is going to be former players, Jag, Taylor, 3 former winners.
Right.
Jag, Taylor, and Cody. I liked all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor was the one you mentioned on a previous show about Big Brother, and you said how that whole season she just had the hardest time. People were being super mean to her.
Yeah.
She was on the block almost every single time,
right.
And she ended up winning.
Yeah.
So they're
Angela. Is that foreshadowing to Angela? What are you saying here?
No, that you were trying to think of her name before.
Oh,
and it's Taylor.
Taylor.
So they're going to have those 3 on to break down the show so far. I'm like, is there anything that needs broken down?
I don't know. But I do want to mention, so Taylor, Cody, I don't know if he was really somebody that was a player that I was vested in, but Jag.
Yes, we both love Jag.
What did I not like about Jag in his season? And I pointed it out every single time
hugged
that
or kissed people. What did he do? He did something like that.
Close.
What was it? It
You're
was something
close.
like that.
You're close. every time he would hug somebody with his thumb,
It was something with hugging.
he would do this.
Yes.
And that drove me crazy.
He did.
So if you ever go back and watch those episodes or watch that season,
Old seasons.
watch
yeah.
Jag. Every time he hugged somebody, he couldn't hug them without doing that. And I don't know why that bugged me, but that bugged me the whole season.
What is he doing with his thumb?
Yeah.
Why is he doing
Why
that?
is he doing that with his thumb? Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm too thrilled about Tuesday, but I would rather have a special night where it's just show us the house. Just show us what they're doing in the house. But
yeah. No
I keep saying
competition.
that. Yeah.
Just relationships,
Yep.
conversations,
Yep.
strategies, who almost went up, who,
Yep.
who's been talking like
Fights, arguments.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody talk to, hardly anybody privately, in the whole time, that we've been watching the show on CBS.
All right. So we're going to leave Big Brother there and just real
So
quick.
prediction for the upcoming Big Brother. So they got to have a head of household. So who do you think will win head of household?
Oh, it'd be funny if Quinn did. I don't know. Tucker. I'd like to see Tucker.
That's what I was going to say. So the only people we kind of are vested in the show is Tucker and Angela, right? They've been the two biggest characters. So if one of those two win head of household, I think it will kind of, they're going to stir things up.
I'm not on the Angela train anymore.
You're off the
No,
train.
yeah,
You gave up. Oh, darn it.
She is
But
too emotional for me.
But it won't matter because Quinn is going to run the whole next head of household.
If he uses it.
He has to. It's his last chance. He only has 4 weeks.
Knowing them.
Yeah, he only had 4 weeks. So
and see, that's how I don't understand how that's going to work. Now everybody knows it's him. It was supposed to be secret so that nobody knew who was
run
doing
the head
it.
You got a free head of household, run it.
Oh, that's
and
true.
You can compete the next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that would really be bad for Tucker because if he wins head of household, then he can't compete the next week. Quinn runs the head of household and he competes the next week. Boy, that's.
So I hope MJ wins head of household, but then Quinn takes over and runs it. I think that would be good.
There you go. He should try to work with the head of household, whoever that is. Because everybody knows it. So, hey, I'll work with you, but who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Switching gears.
Yep. The Olympics. They're ending Sunday, right?
I believe so.
Closing ceremony. Yeah. Their opening ceremony was a little controversial, I guess, across the internet, but I loved it. It was very artistic, and the torch where it ended and lit up, it was this hot air balloon that was amazing. I was like, how are they keeping it there? Or what? I haven't gone back to look, but
right.
I loved that. You've been watching it a lot. I typically only watch women's gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch some men's gymnastics just because they were kind of wrapped around each other.
Yep.
They were going back and forth.
Right.
And then whatever happens to be on when I come in, and you're watching everything.
I'm watching everything.
I did want to check out the break dancing.
It just happened today. So
yeah, I got to go back and watch some. That's new this year, the break dancing. So I think that's going to be cool.
I did see one person that competed, and I don't know if it's a meme or if it actually happened, but this person was so bad that it's all over TikTok right now.
Breakdancing?
Yes. It was so bad that they were doing squeaky shoe sounds to it. it was hilarious.
Too bad I didn't find that clip.
Oh my God, that would have been hilarious. But yeah, they're doing breakdancing today. I did see one person who won. I don't know how many categories there are, but I did see a woman who won, and saw a little bit of their routine, and it was, I don't know if it's a sporting event worthy of a gold medal, but okay, so be it.
It's competition.
Same with skateboarding. Another one, I just didn't feel like it was artistic enough. The tricks that they were doing was, a quarter, a fifth, a percentile of the difficulty that some of these guys do on these big half pikes and stuff like this.
Oh, they weren't doing that in the Olympics?
No, they were doing little street things, like I'm gonna
maybe it was a
ride
different
down
kind.
the rail and jump over a little bump and
Yeah, it was probably street skating
do an
or something.
ollie or something. Not that I'm proficient in skateboarding, but so those two were like, I really didn't care about.
But what are some of the highlights or the moments that you're going to remember from this Olympics?
Noah Lyles winning the 100 meters by a fraction of an inch, which was unexpected. And then the race that he was supposed to win, the 200, he gets COVID after he wins the 100.
Oh, I didn't know this.
That's what I'm here for, honey. You said we're going to talk about the Olympics. I watched the Olympics.
You do.
You didn't watch the Olympics.
Not
so
all of
I'm going to
it.
give you some Olympic knowledge.
Yep.
So the guy who won the 100, the easier race for him was to win the 200, which an American hasn't done since probably Carl Lewis, back in 1984, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yep.
But so he was destined to win because he just eked out the 100 win. The next morning he gets COVID. He's supposed to do that race in 2 days. He literally crosses the finish line third, not first, and collapses, and they take him off on a wheelchair.
I can't believe they let him compete.
Yeah, they do not have COVID protocols like they did back in Tokyo.
Even if you're positive.
They don't have
Wow.
the same,
Interesting.
protocols they had back then. So yes, he competed and people knew he had COVID. And one of the side effects of COVID is your lungs.
Chest, yeah.
And dude couldn't even breathe. I think at one point I saw him do this, which is, my father and brother are asthmatic, and
the
that
inhaler
would always be the sign for give me my inhaler because I can't breathe, and I thought I saw him doing this after the race. They ended up giving him a bottle of water, but he just laid there. They took him off on a wheelchair, and he admitted later, he's like, yeah, I woke up and I knew that something bad was happening.
Wow.
So he didn't get that double. I think, I got caught up in the whole gymnastics thing.
Awesome.
I liked it. The women were excellent. There was a couple women from Brazil that I liked.
Yeah, we were rooting for other teams for like that third place because during like the individuals and stuff.
Yeah.
So after the team competition, the US couldn't win every event, everything. So yeah, Brazil was really good. The one girl from Italy, she was in the competition for a while.
Yeah, and I really followed the story of the girl from I can't remember the name, but she was a French citizen. They had a beef. She ended up representing another country. The French women's team didn't make the team finals.
Yeah, they didn't even make the team final
because she wasn't on the team, and they had beef with her and the whole thing. So she goes to represent another country, and she ends up winning, I believe, the uneven bars.
Yeah.
And she breaks down crying, and it's a good moment for her.
Because they weren't going to let her. I thought they weren't going to let her on the team or something, or she was just having issues with the country of France.
They weren't going to let her on the team. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it was just a bunch of stuff, going on. There's a big backstory to that whole thing, but I think the events that the swimming was okay. I wasn't as invested as I was during the Michael Phelps era. Katie Ledecky was kind of neat. There was some cute Katie Ledecky moments with this little girl that I loved. And so swimming was kind of swimming. The USA and Australia were supposed to have this big rivalry and stuff. And I don't think it ever really materialized. But there was supposed to be some big thing there. But my biggest thing in the Summer Olympics are the track and field. I love the track events. Really like the relays. I really like some of the distance running events, even though we don't typically do well in those. But we did win the mile this year, which was a crazy comeback. I couldn't believe that race. I was like glued to the TV. I even rewound it and watched it again because it was so cool. And the last thing I'll mention about the Olympics, we just were watching before we came
today. I was just thinking, don't forget that.
Yeah. So we were watching Canada and Brazil play for the gold medal of beach volleyball.
Beach volleyball.
And
So it's 2-on-2.
2-on-2, right? So I'm watching it. You're in the other room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's starting to get a little chippy. They're starting to talk back and forth, and they win a point, and a girl would come up to the net and start screaming, and then the girl would protest, be like, hey, I don't want her screaming in my face, and then so it keeps going back and forth, to the point where all 4 women are at the net, and
they are going at each other.
They're going at each other verbally.
Oh yeah,
verbally. And so an official comes out there. They're trying to break them up. The girls are trying to make up, but then they start fighting again, and it's going back. And in the background, I hear
after they split them up. And
why they're together. They're like, everything's going on, but they're trying to get them apart. The DJ, they'll play like songs between points, to keep the crowd, rowdy. Starts playing "Imagine" by John Legend, John Lennon, and I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. They're trying to like calm it down, imagine all the people. And as the women are like breaking up and kind of going, because the one team got a yellow card, they got warned for their behavior.
Yep.
And as they're breaking the girls up, 3 of the 4 hear the music and start laughing that this DJ had the perfect timing to put this song on.
They were just like had a smirk on their face, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing that for us. But then what did the crowd do?
The best part was I look at the background and the crowd is like this, and they're just swaying back, and they're singing. They're singing the song. It was like a true Olympic moment, a funny moment. That's one of the things, like the Olympics are such unique sporting events outside of like the basketball and soccer, but there's such unique sporting events that when we see once every 4 years, I enjoy the Olympics. I have a connection to the Olympics, and I think that is, a bucket list item for me. And I know in 4 years, the Olympics will be back in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we're thinking we don't want to miss that opportunity.
I think that is something I would really like to go see and go take in some of these events. And even if it's equestrian or,
right.
or, I don't know, mountain biking or something, I would really like to, be a part of that experience. And I say that because behind me is the
if you're wondering, what is that thing that's been sitting behind us the whole time? Go ahead.
Do you want to?
No, okay. That's yours.
So behind me is the Olympic torch from 1984 Los Angeles Games, and I was one of the torch bearers. So when the flame came to the United States, I believe it started somewhere near New York. I can't remember exactly where it started. I have to go look that up. But it weaved its way throughout the continental United States and ended up in Los Angeles. So for probably 2 months prior to the Olympics, the flame, the eternal flame that comes from Athens, Greece, I believe, came to the United States, and we were in charge of taking that flame all the way until they actually light the torch, starting the Olympiad for that year.
So how long is your leg of that?
1 kilometer.
Less than a mile. Less than a mile.
Yep,
okay.
Less than a mile.
And you had a special circumstance when you had to run that torch.
Yes, I had an injury.
Yeah.
When I ran the torch. So
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So I was playing baseball and I twisted my ankle like couple days before I was supposed to run the torch. And this was a big thing. I was the only torch bearer from, our little town here in northeastern Ohio. I was the only one. I actually had to travel 60 miles away because they weren't running it through my little town. We had to go to Cleveland for me to run. So I was the only representative.
That's amazing.
From our town. And 2 days before. So it was like a big thing. It was in the newspaper, like, for months, leading up to it.
Yeah.
And then a week before it was every day, 5 days before the flame reaches Carlos Aponte, and, they would track it. And it was the whole thing. And when my ankle was like this big. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And people saw that I was on crutches.
Yeah, he was on crutches.
Yeah. People from like the big paper here is like the Plain Dealer, and there was a local paper and some other papers. All these news people came up to me. They thought I was a handicapped individual and wanted to hear my story because I was the only runner on crutch. Like, oh my God, look at that poor handicapped person trying to run this torch. Let's find out their story. Well, it was just a sports injury that happened 2 days before, but they already committed, because you would have to go through people to get to me. I had handlers, like I was under.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, I was on lockdown. It was like crazy back in 84. I don't know how they've done it recently, but in 84, I had 2 volunteers that followed me everywhere. I couldn't do anything. People would come up for autographs and they would just peer over and see what they were doing and, what was going on. They would watch, people around. And then when the torch was coming and I could see the runner and the cars, because there's a flame on the car as well. If our torches ever go out, there's a flame on the car.
I didn't know that.
There's all kind of great stuff about the torch. So
yeah.
So as it was coming, and I could see it, all the police, Secret Service, I don't know who it was, were coming up and moving people out of my way because they don't want because people were trying to douse the flame.
Oh,
they were people who, were trying to put out the flame like terrorists. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I think they try to do that every year, that there's some, I don't know, something with the Olympics. I don't know. But so everybody got cleared out. My family included got like cleared out. And when the torch comes, the runner, I have to turn on my torch and, like we could show some other time, but there's a way to kind of ignite it, turn it on, because there's a little bit of butane in there that'll keep it going. But we have to light side by side, and that's the most vulnerable moment of the flame, because
if they both go out,
we have to stop. The car they have to take that eternal flame from the car, and then they have to reignite something else. And so, there were just people surrounding me. I was like, oh my God, and then I get a escort while I'm running.
I saw that in the picture.
Yeah.
So in our intro video, you can see him running with the torch and the person next to you.
Yes. And that's the person that they don't carry a torch, but they run next to us, and they are Secret Service or whatever, or the fire police.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a big story around it. It's not just people grabbing the torch and running. So, but we did ignite our flames pretty quickly, everything. And the 2 volunteers that were there, the people who were watching me, made sure everything was good to go. They must have been trained for hours, because turn it like this and you hold it like this and you do it like this. And so we did all that, and I was off.
So he actually stops. The person who's passing out, you guys stop
and exchange the
flame,
flame,
the whole thing, and then you start running.
They turn off their torch. My torch is completely lit. The guy who was running next to me says, "Okay, let's go." And he's like, he looked at my leg, and he goes, "Are we taking this an easy pace?" I'm like, "Oh yes." And I started hobbling off.
So you're following the car?
Following the car. Yep. The car's right in front of me.
So how heavy was the torch?
Not heavy at all.
It's not?
No.
It looks heavy.
No, it's good weight. It does have some weight to it, but your adrenaline, I could have lifted that thing, full extension over my head and ran that half mile without a problem. I had so much adrenaline and so much, pride. I don't know, but I was completely into it. And when I got to the end, my 2 people were gone because they didn't run with me. The other 2 people come up when I come to the end. They're like, okay, this is what you do. And then those 2 people stayed with me and helped me turn off my torch and all this stuff. And
then you get to keep it right then and there.
Yeah. I walked away with the torch.
Wow.
Yep. So it was weird because my 2 people ended up staying with the person who gave me the flame. The person I gave the flame to, their 2 volunteers or security or whatever stayed with me, until we were all wrapped up. And then they made sure that, we got back to either our vehicle, or there was a station there where we all met, we could go back there and hang out. But we were so far away that we were like, hey, let's go back to our cars, which are there. We didn't end up going back inside, and we just grabbed our stuff and left. But
And you had to get nominated for that.
that was my understanding. I think I was, because it said you have been nominated to run the, Olympic torch. And I was like, what is this?
And probably sponsorship, because I know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we had to get sponsorship for the torch and everything. I mean, I think it covers, the torch itself. And I mean, I got a boatload of stuff, that, and there was a lot of people involved in this that, a lot of them were volunteers, but, there was a lot that went into just me running, 0.6 of a mile, or I don't know how long a kilometer is, but there was a lot.
Interesting, the things we don't know. That's why it's interesting to discuss different topics, because I have so many questions I want to ask you right now about this.
Yeah, no, go. I mean, but that is from 1984, and I think I had a bit of nostalgia when these Olympics came in, because they're exactly 40 years later. I was literally 17 years old when I ran the Olympic torch. I was just a baby.
Yeah.
I was just a baby. But, I'm 57 now, and I'm watching the Olympics. I enjoy it. It is one of my favorite sporting events. I really do enjoy the Olympics. I've always been fascinated because I was part of one, in some way, shape, or form. And, it is kind of a bucket list item of mine to do that. And so what other questions you got about the torch?
I don't know at the moment. Well, I wanted to know where the flame is on the car.
On the trunk. So it's almost like there is in the trunk. I didn't see this, but I imagined that in the trunk, there's probably a big kerosene, butane, something that is keeping this flame going. And then
there's a hole.
And then there's a hole in the trunk. And then
is this safe?
Yeah. Then there's a hole in the trunk. And then there's a glass casing with like a little bit of, you could see like little air vents, because you
gotta have needs oxygen,
right? So you could see because I was kind of looking at it while I was running. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat, and but it was kind of covered, so the wind wouldn't blow it out. But it was a constant flame, and you could see it right there on the back of the car. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean that was the flame. If anything happened to the flame, and I do remember, and I don't even know if they would still have it. I do remember some people trying to put out the flame during some portion of the Olympic torch run. That people, protested it, and, I don't know, some oppression thing. I don't know what was going on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's ask our viewers if you have a personal connection to the Olympics. Maybe somebody who's represented the country, or ran a leg of the torch, or anything like that. So let us know in the comments. That would be interesting.
Yep.
What's your favorite event to watch?
Yeah. What's your favorite event? Yep. And I also remember when they ran the torch through when the Atlanta games were here. I can't remember exactly what year, when Muhammad Ali lit the torch. Was the last one. I remember the local radio station getting in touch with me and asking me to share my experience of the Olympic torch run. And, I think it's, something that I'll always have a connection to. And I was lucky at 17 years of age to be nominated and been able to do it. And
it's a special thing.
I think the greatest thing about it was I was the only person from this area to do it. So I think I was kind of representing our county, which is the largest county in Ohio, but not the largest in population, largest in square footage,
Yeah, got a lot of land.
Yeah, but I was very proud to represent this county as the only torchbearer.
Yep, awesome.
Yep.
I think we're going to save the Chicago trip stuff for our special series, Typically Unique Travels.
Cool.
We'll just make that a video probably.
We could have a special guest on for that too,
have those. We might do that.
We should do that.
Yes. yeah, so I'm going to do that. We'll make a separate video for Chicago. And if you're a Big Brother fan, let us know your thoughts about this season in the comments. And we'll be back. Oh my goodness, I don't even know when we're going to, because our special guest is coming Sunday. So I will, we might not record until Tuesday. So look for our next video on Tuesday for that.
All right.
There might be another one in the meantime, though.
All right.
We might be going live with a special guest on Monday.
Fabulous.
But we'll see everybody back here next week.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world but keep the sky on your mind.